within 24 hours. Another way that's more personable, I think, is if you call me on the phone, and as Jack was saying, I'm a direct lender. I'm not, when you call our bank, you don't get, a tone operator where you have to be directed somewhere. When you call my number, you get me directly, and I can pre-qualify you over the phone. It takes about 15 minutes. Get all this basic information: your name, address, date of birth, social security number. I'll ask for 2 years residential history, 2 years of work history, your employment and so forth, and then I'll pull your credit. And that part takes about half hour or so. But I talk to you for about 15 minutes, and then I plug in all the information on the system. The system calculates how much you're able to qualify for a home. It also determines your debt ratios, and I'll talk about that a little bit later. So as I was saying, you can qualify over the phone or do our online application. And the online application is very convenient too, so you can start it and then stop at any time. If you need to dig up information, or if you're applying with your wife, and she's going to be on the loan too, and it might take a while. This will give you an idea of credit scores. Credit score range. Excellent is 720 and above. Very good is 700, 719. And as you can see, it gets worse as the lower numbers come up. That line that you see, kind of between 619 and 620, is where most lenders really don't want to lend. A basic reputable lender won't want to lend below 620. However, as Jack mentioned, there are subprime lenders that will go below 620, but your rate is going to be a lot higher. So, typically, we go for 620 and above. 660 is what our bank really likes to see, although we can make exceptions to go a little below 660. 680 and above is really where you're going to get the prime interest rates. Here's our debt ratios. Typically for a conventional mortgage, it's 32-45. The 32 is your housing ratio. That's your housing expense, which is your P&I, your hazard, your mortgage insurance, and any HOA. And then the 45 is the back ratio. That's all your other debts combined. That's what the 32-45 is. It's pretty strict on VA loans too, for anybody who's in the military. The most lenient is FHA. It goes up to 50. Now 50, we don't like to do mortgages with somebody with a 50 back ratio. However, if you have a lot of compensating factors, like extra money in the bank, or you've been at your job for a long period of time, and the credit score is very good, then we're willing to go to 50. FHA allows 52, so that's why we go that high. Debt ratio calculation is basically your monthly debt divided by your monthly income. All right, so we won't lend more money than you're allowed. So you don't want to worry about, am I buying too much of a house that I can afford? We won't let that happen. We're regulated so much now that we're not allowed to let that happen. Subprime lenders, I don't even think, can do that either. Once you're qualified, once you do a pre-qualification with me on the phone or with your lender, that lender sends a pre-qualification letter to your realtor, and that allows, in that letter, it says how much you can purchase, what your purchase limit is. So, let's say you're only allowed to go to $400,000. That means Jack or whoever your realtor is not going to show you properties that are more than $400,000. He's only going to stick to the $400,000 purchase price, and then you get to go house shopping. I want to talk to you a little bit about some of the grant programs that are out there. There are other lenders that have them, but I just know that we have them too. I don't know the other lenders that have them. You might be able to look them up on the internet. The basic grants that we do are from the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. And the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta is like a bank's bank. There's 12 Federal Home Loan Banks in the United States. We're kind of on the eastern seaboard, so we use the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. And basically they get federal money to help lower to middle income families or even startup families get a home. They provide grants so people can use their money for down payment or closing costs. And the nice thing about that is it's to help stimulate the economy. It helps growth. Home ownership is really kind of one of the big American dreams, so that's what the grant is used for. The first one is our standard $5,000 grant. This can be used for down payment or closing costs. You need to qualify by your income, I don't know if that's on here or not. Yep, here's the regulations right here. You must live in the property for 5 years. You've got to have a 640 credit score or better, but now we've kind of raised that to 660. You must take a first-time home buyer's course, which is free. Once the grant gets approved, we email you a phone number where you can call and take that course over the phone. It's actually a counseling session. It takes about 30 minutes, and it's free. It's really kind of a nice program.
Chris, I have a question.
Yes.
This grant is separate from the grant you might get from IRS or some credit you might get from
Yes.
IRS and so on, right?
Yep. Yeah, this grant is basically free money. You don't have to pay it back. Grants that you're going to use a county grant.
You don't have to pay tax for this either?
That's right.
Oh, that's
No.
okay.
No tax on it. It does, however, when you go to closing, there is a lien on the property of this grant, but it's a note that says
For 5
zero.
years.
Yeah, for 5 years, right?
Is it applied for just a home buyer or for refinance?
No, just for home buyers. First time home buyers. Yep. The nice thing about this grant is if you have a non-occupying co-borrower, let's say you can't really afford the home that you want, and you have another uncle or a relative that can help you finance that home, and they're not going to live in the property, that's okay. We can use their income to help you qualify, even though you have to live in the property.
This is only for Virginia or Maryland too?
Virginia, Maryland, D.C., North Carolina, South Carolina, all the states that are in the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta's region. South Carolina, North Carolina, Georgia.
Excuse me, Chris.
Yes.
I think in California has more grant, about $25,000.
They probably do.
Yes, $25,000.
And there are.
New home buyers, yeah.
Yep. Yeah. And sadly, we can't lend in California just because of their housing market is a lot different from here. We can't lend in Texas and we can't lend in New York. Those are the three main states that we really cannot lend in. Remember, we're a community bank, so we're more localized. Our rates are a little bit lower. We have more of a personal family feel to our bank. So you're not going to get lost with us like you would with, Wells Fargo or Bank of America. Here's the income limits for that grant, and it's based on household size. So a single person buying a house for the very first time, and these are income limits in the Northern Virginia area, all these counties, including Spotsylvania and Stafford, so we go down pretty far. A single person, $46,750. That's their income limit. But let's say you're married and have one child, you're a household of 3, then $60,000 is the limit. If you have 2 children and you're married, $66,750. So the income limits go up as your family is larger. Second grant is a community stability grant. This is a nice one too. This is a grant for neighborhoods that are in those community. Let's see if I got the stats here. Yep. It's neighborhoods that are targeted for stabilization by the government. Like they're trying to reestablish an economic boom in those neighborhoods. So you don't have to be a first-time home buyer for this grant. It's kind of nice.
I get a question. Like, is there any neighborhood in North Virginia?
That has this? Yes, there are certain principalities, like for example, I think the town of Leesburg, you can use this grant, but Loudoun County you cannot.
How about Prince William County?
I'm sorry?
Prince William County.
Prince William County? I don't think so.
So like
Stafford and Spotsylvania County, believe it or not, are targeted areas for restabilization. So this grant can be used there. It doesn't have to be a first-time home buyer.
like investment property and stuff.
Yeah. Give me money.
Yeah, that's why that's why those.
One other thing I want to point out on this grant is you need to contribute 1/4 the grant value. That means if you want the $5,000, you have to have a little bit of money invested interest in the loan too. You have to have $1,250 of your own funds in the transaction. So if you have an earnest money deposit, you give $1,000 up front to secure the contract, and you only need to bring $250 to the table.
Now this 5,000 grant can be obtained even for just land purchase?
No.
No?
Nope.
It has to be resident?
It's got to be a resident. Foreclosure recovery grant. This is a nice grant for homes. Let's say you're going to buy a foreclosure. If that foreclosed property is owned by a bank that is a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, then you're eligible to get a $12,000 grant. So if you're buying a foreclosure and that home is owned by a bank that is under the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta, you can get $12,000 as a grant. And guess what? Bank of America is a member of the Federal Home Loan Bank of Atlanta. So there's a lot of homes that Bank of America owns that are trying to dump off. And it's funny because if you find a property and you see that the seller might be, Franklin Bank. Well, Franklin Bank might be the note holder, but that house still might be owned by Bank of America. So when you do your title search, that's when you'll find out if the home's actually owned by,
Or we can go to Bank of America website and then see what foreclosures they have in the area.
Yes. Yep.
Do they list all the foreclosed homes?
Yeah.
All of?
I think coming soon. All
And then there's other websites too, like REO website or foreclosure property website, even homes.com. This is a VA grant for first-time home buyers. Not first-time home buyers. This can be first-time or non-first-time home buyers. This is for people in the military, and this one does not require any contribution from the buyer. In other words, the $1,250 to get the grant, you don't need to put that quarter interest in it. Returning veterans. Those are veterans who are on active duty who come back to the States. Again, same income limits apply, but they do not have to contribute toward this grant, and they do not have to be a first-time home buyer. Here's a grant alternative. So let's say your income is a little high and you don't qualify for the grant. You can go VHDA. Now, VHDA has a program called FHA Plus. It's an FHA loan, and typically with FHA loans, you have to put 3.5% down. Well, the plus in this program means that you can finance that 3.5%. So you have your main loan, and then you have your down payment, which is also financed. And both terms are exactly the same. So if you're getting a 3.25% rate on your main loan, you're going to get a small loan for your down payment. It's also 3.25%, and you can pay that over 30 years too. And there's no penalty for paying it off sooner, so you can pay off your down payment a lot quicker. So it's basically a 0% down payment loan. However, they do say, and you notice right here, 1% of your own funds should be in reserves or should be in the loan, as your earnest money deposit, or if you're paying for the appraisal. Here are the income limits for the the Federal Home Loan, VHDA, Virginia Housing Development Authority. For a family of 1 to 2, the income limit is $120,000. If there are 3 or more families, $140,000. So it's very easy to qualify for the VHDA program. All right, any questions?
Okay, yeah, thank you so much. We'll go to the questions around in the very last.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
Just want to let you know. Yep.
Yeah.
Thank you.
I request Raj Adhikari, he's another loan officer we have, to talk more about refinance program.
Yeah. I didn't bring any presentations or questions, so you covered it all. म नेपालीमै बोलौँ है सबैलाई नमस्कार मेरो नाम राज अधिकारी म चाहिँ फर्स्ट प्रेफरेन्स मोर्गेज भनी I represent a small lender. We are, I like the small look and feel like what he talked about. We are even a small lender. We lend in about 10 different states. Everything is done in-house. We are a direct lender. सबै कुरा त्यही हुन्छ, processing, underwriting, सब कुरा. यहाँ main reason I'm glad जीवनजीले बोलाउनुभयो हैन, मेन कुरा we are opening a branch in Northern Virginia. अहिले हाम्रो ब्रान्च चाहिँ यहाँ भर्जिनियाको ब्रान्च चाहिँ फ्रेडरिक्सबर्गमा छ, त्यो धेरै टाढा भयो हैन, यहाँको धेरै एक्टिभिटी नर्दर्न भर्जिनिया, त्यसो भएर म अहिले चाहिँ म मेलबर्नमै बस्छु. So we are opening a branch here in Northern Virginia. अनि हामी पनि सबै we do FHA, VA, conventional, all the different mortgage सबै प्रोग्रामहरु गर्छौं हैन. I think some of he probably have a lot more grant program than I do. We haven't applied for several of them. Of the process training we have to do that. Here what I see is big. I think one of the big reason, I think he covered it on his presentation. धेरै म के देख्छु भन्दाखेरि people are renting their townhouse. They are renting their smaller house and buying a bigger house. I mean, I think I firmly believe there is going to be major inflation that's coming. So if you have money, 400,000 sitting in the bank, it may be worth only 300,000. I mean, it's possible, you know, if there is inflation, सबै कुराको भाव बढ्यो भने अब त्यसलाई तपाईले real property मा invest गर्नुभयो भने it could be you can turn that, you know, house you are living in into investment property and buy a bigger house. So we do, you know, all the refinance. I mean, the biggest thing is like, you know, what Chris, right? Chris, what Chris talked about, we are all about service. You know, service, like we want to strive for excellence in service. You know, touch and feel. You can come, meet. You can, you know, any question we have, we can, you know, any of the realtor like Jivanji, Kavinji. What we can also do, we can also pre-underwrite your loan. You know, we can have your, if you have a borderline borrower that don't know, you know, you spend money for inspection, you spend money for appraisal, and things like that, underwriting one, sorry, you know. Under this situation now is one era, we can also pre-underwrite, in-house pre-underwrite, so you may not even have the ratified contract, we can do that. The other thing I think we are known for is we do 2 or 3K loan in 30 days. 2 or 3K loan भने जुन घरमा धेरै कुराहरू बनाउनु पर्ने हुन्छ धेरै जसो मान्छेले हातै हाल्दैन because it takes a long time. The process is very, you know, cumbersome. We can get that done. You may be able to get a really good deal on a house that needs a lot of repair. So the loan is going to include the money for the repair. So house will be done in 30 days. About 6 months, you would have 6 months to fix the house. As long as you can completely tear it down, as long as you are using 3 sides of the foundation. सानो कुरा हैन धेरै जस्तो mold भयो भने if there is a, you know, major structural damage, anything like that, nobody will you know, jump in it. So there is when you have an opportunity. If you already own a house or something like that, तपाईले सस्तोमा किनेर you can get a 2 or 3K loan, have it, you know, you will appraise like when it all the upgrade गरिसकेपछि तपाईले जस्तो, you know, 2,000 square foot house, you want to make it into 3,000 square foot, you can do that with 2 or 3K, and we'll get that done in 30 days. So I mean, we do every program there is. So that's basically it, you know. And the rate, if anybody here already own a house, if you have not refinanced, if your rate is above, you know, 4.5, you should probably talk to us. You know, I think this is a good time to refinance into a fixed program. Even if your rate is decent, you may want to look into 15-year mortgage. And if you have $300,000 house, if you go into 15 years instead of 30 years, you would save over $200,000 in interest. 2 lakh bhanda badi tapaiko interest savings. So, you know, there is
what about the rate, the APR or like age? If I want to refinance my house,
yes,
and I don't want to go up to 30 years. Like the 25 years, 20 years, I don't want to come to the 15 years. What about the rate? Is the same rate or is it going to be the different rate, 25, 20, 15?
You want to answer it or you want
It's lower for 15. I don't know how your rates are, but 25 is close. 25 and 30 are pretty close together.
Very close or is close one rate?
Close in the rate.
Only close, not the one the same rate, right?
Right, it may not be the same. 20-year might be the same as a 30-year, but 15-year is definitely lower.
And also, you mentioned the previous one is the ratio is 30 to 45 for the conventional loan. What do you mean that?
Okay, I'll answer that.
You know what ratios are.
Yeah. Anyway, अब के हुन्छ भन्दाखेरि तपाईको housing expenses हैन. We had a major crisis, you know, 2005, 2006, 2007, because there were loans, people were giving loans. If you come to somewhere and say, look, I need a loan, and they didn't even ask you for your income documents, they didn't ask you for anything, you want a loan, you got a loan. Okay? So now, the guidelines are such, I think to some extent, it has gone to the other extreme. हैन because I run into people who have very large income जस्तो बैंकमा होला उनीहरुको they have millions of dollars but they don't have regular steady income. That guy will not qualify for regular income. अब चाहिँ कस्तो छ भन्दाखेरि तपाईको gross income, let's say your gross income is $10,000 हैन. As a general rule, तपाईको सबै expenses गाडी payment, credit card payment, घर payment, it should be within 45, generally. Because, like FHA allows you to go up to 50%, but you need compensating factor. Compensating factor भने तपाईको श्रीमतीको income use गरेको छैन तर श्रीमतीले काम गर्छ हैन. Compensating factor you have 3 months or 6 months of reserve. तपाईको 401k मा कि account मा बसिरहेको छ हैन. Or you are doing a special kind of training. When you finish, you're going to get $10,000 raise, whatever it is. So as a rule, तपाईले सोच्दाखेरि सोच्नुस् कि म कति लोन क्वालिफाई हुन्छु भन्दाखेरि तपाईको gross income, monthly gross income हेर्नुस्. So it should be all your debt as a general rule should be within 45%.
It's a different bank, it's a different rule? Or
No. This is
I talked to the one mortgage officer. He said it's going to be not more than 42%.
I mean,
if 41% ratio with my income, which I would be eligible.
I have done loans even now. Ratio may be 65%. Back end ratio may be 65%. भन्न खोजेको तपाईको डेटहरु सबै जोड्दाखेरि 65 होला. तर तपाईको reserve you have 100,000 sitting in the bank. We can show it as a reserve. Your credit is over 740 is excellent. So there can be a lot of other factors. तपाईको job is stable भएको 5 वर्ष भइसक्यो. It's a salary job. So those factors all play into it. हैन. So there is general guideline, but the lender also have some other factors.
जीवनजी मैले नि
हजुर
मैले गृह किनेको भर्खरै मैले आफ्नो मेरो सहरी घर छ नेपालीमा भने सहरी घर छ. सहरी घरमा पुनर्लगानी पनि गरिसकेँ हैन. अब मेरो हैन इच्छा के भयो भने एकल घर किन्ने इच्छा हैन जागेको हुनाले भर्खरै मैले 2-4 महिना अगाडि पुनः लगानी गरिसकेको छ कुनै संस्थाले, आर्थिक संस्थाले. अब गर्नको लागि मैले फेरि निवेदन दर्ता गर्दाखेरि गर्न सक्दिनँ कि केही समय पर्खिनुपर्छ अब एकल घर किन्ने क्रममा.
तपाईले बुझ्नुभयो
सिंगल हाउस किन्न कति
नेपालीमा बनाइदिनु
उहाँले चाहिँ रिफाइनान्स पनि
Okay, Chris. His question is, he owns a townhouse, okay, and then now he wants to buy a single house, right? And he can rent the house and then buy a single house, right?
Yeah.
So what's the exact procedure and how we can do that?
Do you have a lot of equity in the home that you currently live in?
No.
No? Okay. You need to have 30% equity in that home or a substantial down payment on the new house that you're going to buy. Plus you need to show a lease for the renters that are going to rent out that house.
So he needs a lease.
He needs a lease.
20% down?
20% down.
No FHA, only convention?
Correct.
Right?
FHA does not do it.
Okay, no FHA, only convention, 20% down.
Or he could do FHA on the new home. But you have to have 30% equity in the home that you're...
30% equity, you need that.
अहिलेको घरमा कति के अरे
It might be different.
No equity, no.
मैले भन्नु है त फेरि कुरा है नेपाली विशुद्धमा 5% ब्याज दर थियो. अहिले हैन पुनर्लगानी गर्नमा चाहिँ 3.8% मा झरेको छ. अहिले पुरानो सहरी घर थियो, अहिले पनि सहरी घरै हो. मेरो इच्छा सपना के छ भने एकल घर किन्ने भएको हुनाले मेरो मेरो धर्मपत्नी मेरो सुपुत्र किनेको नामको आम्दानीबाट किनेको छौँ. मलाई जीवनजी भन्न खोजेको के भने एकल घर किन्नको इच्छा जाहेर भएको हुनाले मेरो त्यो कमाइहरूले त्यो मैले पनि भनेको त्यो घर त्यसलाई भाडामा दिएर पनि होइन कि त्यसलाई कुनै व्यवस्था गरेर नयाँ किन्न चाहेको हुनाले त्यस्तोमा के गर्न सक्छु भन्ने कुरा
तपाईँले के गर्न सक्नुहुन्छ भने होइन अहिलेको जुन घर छ त्यसमा तपाईँले जतिकै शुद्ध नेपाली त म बोल्न सक्दिनँ त्यो मात्र चाहन्छु है I'm trying to match his language, okay, so you know, I hope you don't mind. त्यो घरमा अब एक त तपाईँले भाडामा लगाएको देखिनु पर्यो, तपाईँको जुन वर्षपछि कर तिरिन्छ नि